thought I'd do a little video on this experiment I'm doing. I'm working on some drone music at the moment, and got inspired by a video I watched on YouTube, which I'll put a link down in the description, which was using these little Korg monotron synths to try and make like a very cheap and cheerful drone music. I do actually have two of them, but for whatever reason, this one I can't, it's just not working properly. So this is the original Korg monotron, and the idea which I stole from that video is a hair clip being used to replace my finger, so I don't have to constantly have a finger on there to create a drone. I'll just run through the little setup I've got here. So I have the Korg monotron, and then this other sort of like battery powered cheap synthesizer, similar sort of price to these things, analog synthesizer. I think this used to be like part of like a kit you could make, but then they also released it as a pre-assembled synthesizer. It's called the Gakuin SX150 Mark II, apparently. It's very plasticky. Dials feel horrid. But it does make some quite cool sounds. It's kind of a bit like an old stylophone. Then both of these are running into a cheap and cheerful little mixer. The nice thing about this mixer is that it has auxiliary sends, so I can then output the two synths to a pedal board with, again, really cheap effects pedals. So the idea of this experiment was just like, oh no, my hair clip. The idea of this experiment was just to see sort of using cheap gear and see what you can make with it, really, is the idea. So yeah, it goes into like a kind of combination delay, reverb, then another reverb, and then a overdrive, which probably should be at the start of the signal chain, but it sounded quite cool, so that can stay there. This is then going back into the mixing desk, so I can like control the effects. I can even create like a feedback loop if I wish, and sending the effects back to the effects and so on. This is then running into little field recorder, so I can record what I'm doing, and then output into a little pair of speakers so I can hear what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm just going to stop the video now because my hair clip fell off. But so here's a little demo. there we have it. Not the best little performance ever, but never mind. But yeah, it can make some quite cool sounds. Very dark sounds from some very cheap stuff. So I thought it was just fun little experiment. Right, back in my studio now. And I decided after recording a little bit of what I was doing down in the kitchen with the cheap synths, I'd have a go at sort of blending them with some software synth stuff and run it through a few plugins and stuff like that, and make something a sort of dark ambient suitable for Halloween, if you like. And if you fancy ever listen to that, I'll upload it to. I'm going to upload it to SoundCloud, and I'll put the link down in the description and all that stuff. So yeah, just a little experiment with, can I make sort of droney ambient music with super cheap stuff? I think in conclusion, in reality, doing it with hardware, yes, you can pick up some cheap hardware and stuff like that, but and it's much. I think it's much more enjoyable and more hands-on way of doing it with all the dials and learning about filtering and sort of how to use synthesizers and stuff like that. However, to really do it on a budget, then I think you can't really get much cheaper than getting an old laptop and a free bit of software and some free software synths. And you can create some really amazing stuff with just free plugins and free software. So that, I don't think you can really beat that in terms of a budget way of doing things.